All right, welcome into Moon's Art Nook. Today I kind of wanted to compare an expensive pencil to some more budget-friendly options. So the Uni Mitsubishi pencils are wax-based, and I think during 2020 when I bought these, so these are not brand new. When I bought these were a little over $100. Now they're price tagged at $150. And I don't know that they were worth my purchase. So today I am going to revisit them. I haven't touched them since I bought them, I'm going to be perfectly honest, because they were so expensive and it just seemed to me like I was just scared to use them. Now that I've gotten some more experience with different color pencils, I can kind of judge which I like more and which I don't like. The one thing I do remember about this set is only using it once and how far down I used the black. And I think I only did 1 or 2 images, little drawings with it, and it just felt like the pencil just disappeared. These are not available in open stock, so you can't replace them once used. And again, they're just a little on the pricey side. So if you're using them and you run out of a color, you can't replace that color. The other thing is, when you look up information about these pencils, they don't have anything about light fastness, right? So you're paying pretty large price tag for Japanese pencils that do not have light fastness. They probably shouldn't be used for art that you're selling. And yeah, they're just something that I've put away and then I have not touched. So today we are going to swatch some of these against Prismacolor and even Crayola. Some of more budget-friendly options that are also, wax based. The specific wax in here, it just says their own synthetic wax, so it's not really clear what the cores are made out of. And then yeah, so I figure we'll swatch them, see how they do against Prismacolor and Crayola, considering they're more budget-friendly options. And maybe I'll like them, maybe I won't, but we'll see at the end of the video. So I've created, and this is for my own preference, I've created a little swatch area where I can compare different color pencils I get, because I am getting more and more into the hobby of using them, whether it be for nice art pieces or just coloring, and finding which ones work for which thing, right? I'm not going to knock a cheaper pencil if I'm just drawing or coloring, but if I'm making like a serious art piece, I might have a preference on different colored pencils. As it stands now, my general opinion about color pencils, and my favorite ones to use, are actually the Faber-Castell Polychromos, which is a common opinion amongst artists. But maybe, after I go through all my sets and swatch them and do different art pieces with them, maybe my mind will change a little bit on which are my favorites and what I should grab for. I also have Holbein, which will be another video, and a few others that I want to try out. That being said, let's hop into it. So I'm going to start with the Mitsubishi Uni pencils. They look nice, but again, there's no light fastness on the pencils. I will say that they have a lot of pretty blues and purples in the set, but I don't know that those blues and purples really stand out in relation to getting 150 set of Prismacolors and finding blues and purples in there. But here are the main colors I'm going to use, are the primaries, and just see how they swatch, because I don't want to swatch all of them. But as I do this, I'll kind of see how they look next to each other. I have a black space and a lighter space, so I can see what they do on toned paper and just kind of compare. So we'll start with red. So the red on the black. Not seeing a lot of pigment stand out from the red onto the darker paper. In fact, it almost just blends in. It does feel like a harder pencil, but not in a way that so far is good. It's really not laying down any pigment. Let me try over here. So we'll start with the darkest. Start reducing some of that pressure. So immediately I can tell that these are a harder pencil to get pigment from. I'm kind of struggling to get a really sharp, dark red. It's taking a lot of pressure to get that much color to lay down. And then let me try blue. Now I tried to match most of the colors in the sets with each other. Like each of them have different blues and reds and yellows. Not all of them have like a primary set that's easy to identify. So we'll start with the blue. Okay, so blue is coming through a little bit, but I think that's because there's a little bit of white in here or something. This is it just says blue. But the blue has a little bit more opacity on the black. So the blue is laying down a little bit better, in my opinion, than the red. But again, it's still a pretty firm pencil, right? So it's more, when I'm using it, akin to the feeling of a polychromos, actually. Like it's without the deep coloring, I would say. But we'll see. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Here's the yellow. Let's see how the yellow does. Oh, that's not horrible. Onto the black. So yellow is pretty vibrant. But again, you gotta press pretty firm to get that color to lay down. Their black, which I used a lot of. I remember really liking this black, but obviously. Yeah. So that is the black, and now let's try the white. I don't think I used the white very much. Oh, the white shows up all right on here. And then you're not going to see it much on the page, but it lays down pretty well. All right, so that is the Mitsubishi Uni pencils. Let's try them against our real budget-friendly pencils, and we're going to try them against Crayola. So this is Crayola on the dark. So performance-wise, the Crayola does not have much opacity on the black toned. But these are definitely softer. Pigment wise, this looks like more of a red than this does. This has a little bit of a pink tone to it. But this does lay down a little bit faster than that did. The blue for Crayola. So that doesn't have any real tooth to it on dark. but it's definitely more vibrant with a regular blue. I'm wondering if there's another blue that this would be more akin to. And then the yellow. Not seeing much of that in there, surprise, surprise. And then now we will use black. Honestly, the black looks darker for the Crayola. Because I pressed pretty hard on that and didn't get a lot of pigment. Again, doesn't really hold up on these darker paper areas. So Crayola compared to Mitsubishi, I mean, not horrible for the price point. I definitely think that they could be a little stronger in pigment. So let's try these against the Prismacolor now. The Prismacolor are usually pretty goated, in my opinion. They always usually perform pretty well. So already I think this one out of all three lays down the most color for the reds on the dark. It's a lot softer of a pencil and it lays down more color. Yeah, definitely lays down more color. Try the blue. Whoop. That is one downside with Prismacolors is their leads are soft and you can break them pretty easily, but it does show up more than the Crayola. I almost need to find a different blue to test because that is just not the same. Blue looks pretty good here. Wow, the yellow really comes through. I think the yellow looks the best. And I think, you know, comparing these three wax, so far the Prismacolor are more enjoyable to use. But that could change, you know, could change my mind. Wow, that white looks good. Yeah, the white's not super opaque over here. Doesn't require much to get that color laid down either. And the black as well. It's pretty nice and dark. So not bad. It's not bad at all. Now, I think a good test to do with the Mitsubishi, and maybe if I can find a different blue, let's see, that might be more akin to what we should have. Maybe. Yeah, that looks more right. So very close. So maybe do a blue down here. Yeah, that blue is closer to what the other two are. And, you know, okay, so that one's a little bit closer. What I wanted to test now is to see how they kind of blend together. So if I layer these over each other, let's do a yellow. I'm not really getting a green, which is surprising. Well, maybe a little bit. So the layering's a little bit tough on these. Oh, maybe we're getting somewhere.